Hello, my name's Caleb Brown, and my ID number is 4131881. This is the final reflective project for Dr. Cheryl Parker's Introduction to Literature class, and for the final assignment, I decided to do a video blog. And for this video blog, I decided to break down the class into what I learned based on each lesson. So I have like short something to say on each lesson, so lessons 1 through 8, and then like a concluding statement a little bit. So honestly, I didn't learn a lot through this course. I did learn some interesting things, granted, and I really enjoyed. But overall, I found it a challenge to engage and really do the work for this course. I even just completely skipped lesson 7 because I didn't want to put in the work for it, and I was tired from work. And it just kind of made me frustrated with the academic institution for making me do this course, because a lot of the material I felt like I covered more advanced topics even in middle school than we explored during this course. And that's not at all, I think, a reflection on you as a professor. I think it's the standards that the education system throughout the U.S. is set for people, and it's frustrating how low they are. Because when I'm not challenged in a course, I just don't want to apply myself, which is kind of what I did, honestly. But I'll just start with lesson 1. So in lesson 1, which covered MLA formatting, honestly, I feel like I learned more about MLA formatting in 7th grade, and it was like I've covered this so much through middle school, high school, and even through my freshman and sophomore years of college that it's like beating a dead horse. Every literature class has to cover it, and in fact, every year, the teaching has regressed. So in 7th grade, we had to learn how to write like a works cited document, how to do everything, how to do all the MLA formatting, and every year they required less of us to do. Until college, we're still covering this at even a more basic level than I did in 7th grade. And so at this point, it's just kind of putting on a smile and going through it, but it just felt like a complete waste of my time, and just seems like it should be a requirement that you understand how to do MLA formatting to even be in college. I know some schools aren't as good and won't cover it, but it's a state standard, so you really shouldn't even be allowed to graduate high school without learning how to do MLA formatting. And in lesson 2, starting the material on To Kill a Mockingbird, I read that book in middle school, and I also read it in high school. And again, by the time I took this course, it was like beating a dead horse again. And I really didn't learn anything about the book, and just sort of mindlessly did the material. And I kind of felt like it was a waste of my time again. And again with lesson 3. And then in lesson 4, once again, been covering poetry all the way through middle school and high school and in college through research writing and college writing. And so covering the like basic parts of speech and elements of poetry was again just full of repetition, very boring, and really felt again like a waste of my time. And then lesson 5 was actually one of the lessons that I really did enjoy. Initially, I went into it with a bad attitude, like I had with the rest of the lessons in this course. But because I had memorized The Road Not Taken in 8th grade, and like I thought I had it down and stuff. But as I was researching the meaning of the poem, I realized that I had it all wrong, and I was really just kind of arrogant and prideful, and I had used that poem, as I think most people do, as kind of an ode to nonconformism, but I didn't really realize that it was sort of a poem questioning the like laws of choice and fate and everything like that, and that it actually favors like almost a predestined aspect or view on choice and fate, which I enjoy the poem now more that I know the meanings and the origins behind the history and how it was written for Robert Frost's friend in the war, and then he died 2 months later and stuff like that. And yeah, so I really enjoyed that, and thanks for making me research that. And the other poems were very enjoyable to read, and doing this whole course with my wife too was fun because we would be able to dialogue about it and stuff, and we talked about some of the poems, which we really enjoyed as well. And then in lesson 6, The Tempest, that was actually really interesting too. I had never heard of The Tempest, and I liked how unique the story was, and I will definitely be using the information I learned during that lesson. Mostly just if anybody ever references The Tempest, I'll at least have a basic kind of conceptual format for what they're talking about and be able to understand a little bit. So I enjoyed that, and I think my wife and I are going to watch the movie here in a couple days or something like that. So yeah, I really enjoyed learning about The Tempest and reading that. And then honestly, yeah, lesson 6, again, I skipped over it because I was tired and didn't want to do it, and I had just come back from work. Let's see. Yeah, honestly, yeah. So, yeah. Sorry, this wasn't very well put together, but honestly, it was easier for me just to explain how I felt about the course than to say that, put together some fluffy, paper filled with pleasantries and kind of disingenuous information and feelings than just to say how I felt about the course. And I do think it's kind of ridiculous that this course should be required for a 4-year institution, especially at a high academic level. But that's not at all a reflection on you as a professor or as Moody Bible Institute as a whole. I understand there's state requirements and stuff for this type of thing, and I could have clubbed out of it as well. I just had an online credit from study abroad, so I used it. But thank you for pouring yourself so much into this course and for being a great professor and for really doing, I think, the best job that you could possibly do as an online professor in this course. And you did do a good job, so thank you very much, and God bless. Have a good one.